Hello, this is Rani Hari here. Welcome back to my channel. In commemoration of International Women's Day, I had a lovely conversation with my friend Anne. And we talked about sustainability and how it relates with equity, equality, as in relation with this year's theme of International Women's Day of Embrace Equity. We kind of share about our personal stories, how we as businesswomen here in the UK try to navigate the complexities as well as basically how to do business here, as well as what sort of practical steps we can take to promote as well as to increase more equity, like those small steps that we can do. I'm really looking forward to share this episode with you. Thank you very much, Anne, for coming here today. So we are going to for today's episode, we're doing about International Women's Day, and I'm so glad that we have Anne because Anne here. I know Anne since last year or last 2 years, I think, right?
Yes.
And I thought, okay, I want to have her in our podcast. So today's dream comes true.
Awesome. I'm really happy to be here. And thank you. Yes, we've known each other for a year now. And I'm really happy to have you as one of my friends. And both, personal and business friend. So yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Oh, Anne, thank you. So would you like to just say like what's your background? And because I hear you started your company Sustainable Media since last year, but then you kind of pivot a bit, right? Just recently. Would you like to talk about that?
Yes, maybe I should start with who I am. So I'm the founder of Sustainable Media Lab. It's a media production company, but we have a special focus because we focus on sustainability. Our goal is to champion sustainability, talk about impact, and showcase projects that are making impact in communities, in organizations, and this kind of work. That's what we do. And so I've been running this company for a year. That's when we met. Yeah. So of course, you review your business as you go along, and you have also looked at the market. You've done some work. You review the business. So what we have done, we've just launched our brand, relaunched our brand, and now what we are offering is what I call sustainability journeys. So we go into organizations, be part of their process, and tell their story from within, including all stakeholders and putting the story from the perspective of the people who are experiencing the sustainability impact that organizations are making. So that's what I'm doing now, and it's quite amazing, being in the visual storytelling space. It's empowering.
Okay. Would you say that this is something that you've had in mind before, like having this sustainable, like recording sustainable journeys, right? Like where does the idea came from?
My background is in marketing. I've worked in corporate for about 10 years. Before we met, I had just come from a 10-year marketing career, and I came back to the university to do a master's in marketing. So my intentions were to spend that year to study and also figure out what's the next step in my life, And that's when I got into the sustainability space through some of the research I was doing at the university, and I decided starting media is something that I've done before. It's something that I'm conversant with, but how can I use this experience to make an impact, right? So that's how I got into the idea of how about producing visual stories for sustainability. So that's how this came along, and I'm happy.
Yay. When we talk about sustainability, we always have this image that the most common image would be going green and then all about environment, all
mean, it's kind of a misconception, isn't it? Would you like to talk more, especially in terms of what you do as well, in terms of sustainability?
Yeah, so it's not actually a misconception, it's just part of the bigger picture. Because when we talk about sustainability, we are not just talking about environmental, that's what everyone knows when they hear sustainability, right? So we are talking about social sustainability, economic sustainability, and of course the environmental part of it. So bringing all this together, and I think the best way to look at sustainability is to maybe look at the Sustainable Development Goals, the UN Sustainable Development Goals, because they encompass everything. Because if you look, for example, at poverty eradication, that comes as a social perspective, right? If you look at climate change as a goal, it comes under environmental. If you look at economic development, again, it comes under economic sustainability. So although all the goals are interconnected, you can be able to separate these in these three broad categories. So yeah, that's what I would look at when I look at sustainability.
Okay. So since today's, in terms of the International Women's Day, the theme, the broader theme is about embrace equity.
Right.
Yeah, I think this is the topic you're concerned about.
Yeah, and quite excited about actually, because what everybody is talking about and what a lot of feminists and other women as well have been fighting for is gender equality. But now looking at equity, I think we first need to define these two topics, right? What do they really mean and what's the difference, right? So when we look at equality, we are looking at giving equal opportunities to everybody. Like say you're an equal opportunities employer, right? So that means that if a woman comes along or a male comes along, they get the same opportunity. But when we talk about equity, we recognize that people have different starting points, right, in life. Because think about it like this. If let's think about it from an employment perspective. So we see you work in technology, right? So we see women are not very much involved in tech, and that is something you're elevating in your business. But if women are not already in the technical space, does giving them equality provide them the access they need to get these opportunities? Right? But if you look at equity, it's broader and more inclusive, because it talks of, we first recognize there's an education gap, there's a skills gap in the technical space. So we first need to provide these women what they need so that they can access the equal opportunities. So equity is much more inclusive, it's wider, and it's what we should push for in order to access equality.
When you say that, it reminds me of this pictures about, so there's, when I was Google searching about what's the difference between equality and equity. So the pictures are like, with equality, it's like what you said. So there are three guys, like different with different length, like sort of different height, and then they were given the same type of blocks that they can use to see the matches behind the fence. So of course that means the person with the shortest height, they cannot see, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. With the picture with the equity one, so we can see that based on the person's height, then they will give the blocks like depending on the personal situation.
Exactly. Because what we have to see is like people have different starting points. As you have mentioned, like for example, the shorter person has a different starting point from a taller person if they want to see over the fence, right? So they have different starting points. So equity recognizes this and first elevates everybody,
Mm.
puts them on the same level, then gives them equality, or rather, it gives them equal opportunities. And when this happens, that's when now we can say we're being fair, we're being inclusive, especially with the issues of gender. Yeah.
What are the types of examples of equity being given to, let's say, to women or maybe young girls that you have seen or you have known?
So a lot of organizations, or rather, people in society have started to recognize the need for equity. And first of all, let's start with the theme of this year's International Women's Day. The theme itself means there's recognition of what gender inclusiveness means. Because once such an organization says, okay, this is our theme, it means out there, even somebody who was not aware about equity versus equality are now concerned, what is this about? And the more we talk about it, the more the voices become louder, the more the understanding, and people will start creating the spaces that are needed. Because if you don't give people the same platform to fight, you cannot say you're being fair just because you're saying I'm giving equality. You're not being fair, because if I don't have access, simply because maybe I don't have the education, I don't have the technology, I don't have the skills, or even the knowledge. You first have to provide me with all these things before you tell me, okay, here's equality, here the opportunities, here's the access, right? Yeah, so those are the things that I feel are becoming more recognized in organizations, and I'm very happy that a platform like the International Women's Day is recognizing this as a strong theme that needs to be, shared around the world.
Yeah, because that's something that we always know. I mean, it's important, right, for raising awareness as well. That it's not just about, as you say, it's not just about, hey, I give you the same opportunity. Let's say, because I'm from Asia, right? So I'm from Asia, and then, depending on certain places in Asia as well, that like if someone gives because we're currently in the UK, so if someone gives an opportunity like those people in the UK and in the Asia, then here, okay, we give already, right?
Yeah.
No, that doesn't work like that.
Right, and that's a strong point, because I'm also, I'm from Africa, so we kind of share the same status here in the UK, especially as business women, because we have very different starting point, because we first have to figure out how do we, do business here legally, right? How do we speak the language, the local, I don't mean English, but there's the local business language.
Yeah.
How do we speak that language? How do we fit in, like when I came here the first time, I usually used to have difficulties with accents, right? Understanding people, and it used to, as much as I have opportunities and I would say access to having a business here, I'm having such challenges that if I had other people elevate me, right, to a point where I can say, okay, I'm able now to access the opportunities offered, I cannot talk of equity, right? So I'm offered equality. I'm told here it is, take it. You can start a business in the UK. You can do it legally. You can access, opportunities, but do I have the capacity to actually access? So you end up working really hard when you're starting out to just manage, if you know what I mean. So I don't know how your experience was when you're starting out, but this was my experience. I felt like I needed to climb up the mountain, get to the top so that I can compete with everybody who was in my level. So I don't know, how was your experience?
Okay, that's a very good question, because we're getting personal here. Okay. Yeah. In terms of building businesses, because I came from like my family is a business family, so I kind of already exposed to that. But of course, well, there is similarities. There is gonna be differences as well, right? Like in terms of mentality, in terms of the culture. So you're right. Well, when you know all of the legalities, all of the administrative, it's like you could say quite smooth when setting up business here in the UK. But because I approach it in a like more in a, how do you say it, Asian mentality, especially when we started with Garchi. So we have 2 startups. One is Garchi, and we started with homemade food platform. So me and Aditya, my business partner, we were like, oh yeah, like the people who, well, usually in Asia they are women, but I mean it could be anyone here, I guess, in the UK. But the concept is people who came from international backgrounds, and they have they have stories to tell through their cookings. So we want to elevate that.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
But apparently, well, the concept sounds nice, but in reality, that doesn't work that way, because we've got in here people are very strict in a very good way, especially in terms of food hygiene, food awareness, like allergies and etc. Right, which is a really good thing, and that means that kind of become a one hindrance for people who they want to sell their cooking, but they may not want to do the administrative part.
Right.
Yes, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So that's already one, and we approach it again. That's why, like, when I bounced back this idea with one of my relatives who have been here in the UK for some time, they were like, why do we need this specific one for homemade food? Because the food quality, because we approach it in the perspective that homemade food means healthier,
Exactly,
cleaner.
Yeah.
But that's not the case here, because food here is already clean and healthy. So like, why we can get homemade food everywhere?
So you struggle with the edge. What is the edge for the
Exactly?
business? I see what you mean. Yeah.
Exactly. So since then it came to my mind that, oh, all right. So we're approaching this in this the mentality where I came from.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So there's and that's when we come back to the topic of equity, that is exactly what we're saying. Like, maybe as a business person coming from Africa, or yourself coming from Asia, we need that platform to kind of sensitize us, to the culture and the nature of business before we can say we have the opportunity to access. You see? So maybe in business it might be easier to align yourself with organizations like we did ourselves. We got an organization to support us and help us navigate the waters, the cultural differences, the business roadmaps, and all this. So this is this kind of organization. I'm talking about Work in Progress, the organization that helped us to set up and elevate our businesses. So these kind of organizations are an example of how to provide equity, because what they're doing is taking people like us who have bright ideas, good ideas to do business, but we basically don't have the adaptation capacity to access these opportunities that we offered. And they give us that platform and the skills and the pep talks and all this. You get to a point where you feel, okay, now I can say this is an equal opportunities country based on the support that I've gotten from this special organization. So this is what I'm talking about.
And while you raise that point, I also want to raise that allies is also a very strong strong presence to have in terms of equity as well, and especially when it comes to work in progress, then like I'm sure you are as well. Like there's one figure that's always been very supportive of us.
Definitely.
Yes, and this is a special mention for Richard. If you're listening to this,
Yeah, I actually met her yesterday and we had a really good conversation. She's a kind of person who brings you back to where you started and you kind of see the journey and where you've come from and how far you've come. And this is what it means for women to elevate women. She recognizes there's a gift in this person and says, as a woman, I'm going to hold this person by hand, guide her through the steps that she needs to be guided through, and get her to a point where even if I left her hand, she can compete in the market. She's out there, and we had a very good conversation, and we were talking about the journey, how it has been, and where are you now, and I see that smile. Initially, she would tell me, okay, look at this, figure this out, But now she's like, okay, I'm happy with this. Next, what's next, And these are the conversations when we talk about women, supporting women, these are the conversations we want to have. Where you hold a woman's hand, you lead her through where she needs to go, you elevate her, you give her that equity she needs so that she can come up to a level that she can, on her own, access the equal opportunities that are out there.
That is very nice recognition as well and conversation to have. In our case, Richard has been very instrumental as well. And I think it's not just about, it's great when women supporting women as well. But that doesn't mean, if you're a guy then you cannot help, right? That's open, and this is the part where even me and my business partner Aditya, we've been very grateful for Richard's support, especially if you read white papers, anything published by companies, they will say that women doesn't have that many mentors or allies. In terms of opportunities compared to
men. Yeah.
But I feel like with Richard here, he did his best. He does his best to push this equity, you could say.
Yes.
Yeah, especially when it's something that he knows he can help with. Okay, where there's this opportunity, do you think this works for you? So yeah, it's a shout out for him as well.
I know, because look at it like this. When we talk of equity, we're not just gender equity, when I put it together. We're not just talking about women being elevated to reach men. We are also recognizing that gender equity also means there's a man who is down, right? Or there's a man who is up who can pull another man or another woman. So we are talking about everybody, not just women. There's of course, definitely women have been more disadvantaged in the past. They have had a rodeo, but there are also women who are doing very well. Right? So we have to recognize that the idea is to put everybody on the same level, right?
That's the goal.
Yes, put everybody on the same level. Pull up the women who are below the line, right? Pull up the men who are below the line. Let's come here and present the equality package. Right? Yeah. So when you talk about Richard, work in progress leader, if you talk about, for example, what he's doing with us, or yourself specifically, because he's been quite involved in your business, he's recognizing that you need to be put, but you have your business partner is a male.
Yeah.
Does that leave him behind? Because we need gender equality for women, right?
Yeah.
No, or gender equity for women. No, we need gender equity for everybody. So we pull up everybody who is below the power, the level space.
Yeah.
We pull up everybody, bring them on the table,
Yeah.
then present them with opportunities.
I like that. So what you're saying is basically at the end goal of it is equality, but then to go there we use equity in order to so that everyone reach that same platform.
Exactly, because as we discussed before, you cannot say you're giving people equality if they have different starting points. Because there's an issue of access. Because if you tell me for example, this company, let's say when I get to employing level, my business gets to that point. If I say I'm an equal opportunities employer, and I'm looking for technical people to assist me with, for example, editing content, production, and I have 5 very well qualified men and 1 very well qualified woman. I need 3 people, right? So I end up getting more men.
Yeah.
What if I said I'm offering an opportunity to train men and women, and out of that pool that I'm going to train, I'm going to give opportunity equally.
Yeah.
Then what I've done, I've brought in the point of equity.
Yeah.
I've offered that woman who could not have accessed the opportunity I was offering initially.
Yeah.
I've offered them the skills they need so that they can compete on the same level.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is what everybody needs to start thinking about. What can I do so that when I say I'm giving equal opportunities, I've actually ensured that all the people I'm offering these opportunities are coming from the same place.
Are coming, like the people that you offer the opportunities come from the same place.
Yes, and I mean the same place in terms of access to this opportunity.
Okay, got you. Okay.
So it's a quite interesting topic, and I really like this thing and we need to explore it more actually.
Yeah.
Because it's the kind of theme that speaks to the soul. Yeah, especially for somebody like me who is I'm looking at social impact, for example.
Yeah.
I'm looking at social sustainability. This is something really strong for me. I need to really push it out there, have a loud message, let people understand these terms, internalize the meaning of these terms, then they can put actions behind this word.
I like it when you say like it comes from my soul. It's very personal.
I'm passionate because this is my life. For the first time, I feel like I've found my truth, my way, my passion, my real thing. And thank you for this platform actually. What this does is once you have a voice, for example, I now have a voice.
Yeah,
right? You have a voice. Who else can we give voices to using the platform that we've acquired through other people like Richard, like Rachel? Who else can we give this voice so that this message can keep going and going and going? And that's how we achieve social equity.
Okay, do you think what sort of thing that we need to do in terms we've raised awareness, which is really great. We have this platform for discussion, which is really great as well. But of course, action needs to be there, right? What sort of action do you think that can be done in terms of raising awareness, or not just raising awareness, but to embrace or help embracing equity itself?
Okay, so for example, for myself as an entrepreneur, this is practically what I'm going to do. If I want to employ people, I'll bring them in, I'll train them, I'll start with offering the opportunity to elevate the people I'm targeting to the same level. Then at that point, I'll give them the opportunity, right? And for example, if you look at the tech trainings you're doing, the tech lunch, the tech support you're doing.
Yeah.
If you're able to see, I know, like, for example, who is disadvantaged in terms of accessing tech, then you say, okay, this is where I'll put my effort so that this person can come up.
Yeah.
So it's about we have to use what we have, because we cannot save everybody, right?
Yeah.
Of course, there are other organizations, the government. Speaking of the government, for example, the other day I was reading about the leveling up agenda, where based on the regional divisions, or rather the regions in the country, so the government is putting in money. This is the equity part of it, and it's exciting.
Yeah.
They're putting in money to regions that are disadvantaged, to pull them up economically, socially, pull them up so that they can come to level with other regions. Maybe you should read about it also, the leveling up agenda. So it's the same thing. The government is doing that at a high level. What are we doing at our level in small organizations or medium, big, large organizations, or as individuals? What are we doing to present equity to the people around us? We have to recognize who among us is below the line to access the equality opportunities that are coming up. Then we pull these people up.
That sounds like what we been doing as well in our companies. Like right now, we give trainings. We give them trainings as well in terms of, not just the tech skills, but also like I give them coaching as well in terms of some people may already have the skills, but they may not necessarily have the confidence of that, but also vice versa. They may have the passion, the attitude for learning, but they may need extra help with the tech skills. So that sounds like equity, I suppose.
Exactly. And for people like me, we're in the storytelling space, we have to talk and be loud, be heard, let people know like what is out there and what they can do. Like if there are opportunities. For example, we talk of I really love work in progress because it's the kind of platform that gives this agenda a voice, right? But do people know about it? So as a storyteller, it's my job to go in there, look for these kind of organizations that are elevating people, tell their story, show their success stories, so that other people can also go, I can access this from this kind of organization. So we also have to empower storytellers and content creators to talk about these things that are happening. If you have a tech training for women, for example, somebody needs to tell this story, because if it's not told, people will never know. If they never know, then they will never take advantage of that opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So this is what I think should happen, at least on the micro level where we are, because you can only work with what you have and what you're able to do.
Right.
So, and even if you touch one life, that's enough.
Oh my God,
You've changed the world.
I feel goosebumps, and when you say that in a good way, I mean, that means what you say it resonates.
Right.
Yeah. And again, this is what I've been trying to do as well, like with this. So I also do the podcast Asian Fempreneur, and I want to tell the stories of people and women entrepreneurships as well. So, based from what you were telling me, it sounds like, okay, I've been doing that, embracing equity.
Exactly. We all have access to social media, to our camera phones. You don't need all this, big equipment and everything. No, you just need to just talk. Whenever, if you're in front of a screen, say something. Somebody else is listening on the other end, Yeah.
Wow. think we can talk forever about this. But yeah, our time is up. Just one more question though, Anne.
Yeah.
How, I think you kind of touched a bit about this in the middle. What does your authentic self look like?
My authentic self.
Mm.
Wow. I don't know if I'm going broad or I'm being specific. But I think I would look back at what is called, about my values, what is important to me. And some of these things you acquire from your childhood, right? From your parents, from your your society. I grew up in Kenya. I was born in Kenya rather, and I grew up there. So I was part of a community from growing up, and we had values and there's what you are taught as a child that never leaves you.
Mm.
And for me, like where I come from is a very social community.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
If we have neighbors checking on neighbors, everybody is babysitting for everybody. Like it's such a supportive community. And for example, I've been living abroad for 9 years now, going on to 10, but I still connect with the people back home. When there's need, I'm there. If there's a social problem that needs to be solved, people come together to solve it. It doesn't matter if you've been abroad for 10 years, you're part of this community. So these are the values that are important to me. Values to do with social change, social support, being other people's person. So these are, for example, now I'm in business, and if you look at the core of my business, it still goes back to how I grew up and the experiences I had when I was young. So when I talk of authentic self, it's those values that I took from childhood. Of course, the other things I've acquired along the way in school, in jobs, in growing up, becoming an adult. But there are those things that never leave you. And for me, it's about social advancement. Yeah.
So I'm hearing the social value, the values that you've had since when you were born, and then when you grew up, and because it's all related with social community, so then it develops into social value.
Well, yeah, and you could call it like if you look at the whole sustainability agenda, as I spoke before, we are looking at social, economic, and environmental, right?
Yeah.
So when we talk of community empowerment, whether it's through education, providing opportunities, pulling other people up so that they can also access better lives and all this, those are things that are core to me. I'm a part of a society, and I have to always be part of a society. I have to always go back and check on the people that I grew up with. What's going on, do I have access to opportunities that I can extend to them, right? If you look at the economic part of it, for example, I'm a business person now. What can I do with the opportunity I have to help other people? Because at the end of the day, we go back to the value of the social value, right?
Yeah.
Then I come back and talk of my economic empowerment and economic sustainability of other people and myself as well, right? How can we work together? How can we help each other? And if you look at the environmental sustainability, I think, for example, I'm thinking in Kenya, what problems do we have? Caused by, for example, by climate change. What can I do? I'm a storyteller. Can I help people to get more information about how, for example, to deal with drought, how to save food for the dry season, how to farm better? Can I do this? So I have to use the skills I have. And for me, to bring all these sustainability issues tell these stories, you know. So at the end of the day, I'm for the people. That's the value I grew up with and I'll keep maintaining, you know. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Anne, for being here. I really love our conversation today. Hopefully we'll be able to see you again in the next later future episode.
Yes, of course, we should have more conversations.
Yeah.
I mean, we have platforms, we have to use them. It doesn't matter how small they are. Let's push our message.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll see you in the next episode then. Bye.
Bye-bye.